Hi, my name is Ryan Langwish, and this is Ludo Lodge, a channel about sparking growth for game designers. And today I'm going to be doing a mechanism spotlight looking at the multiple win conditions in the game Lovecraft Letter. Now, Lovecraft Letter is a retheming, reskinning of the very popular micro game Love Letter, which is a simple 18-card game where players only have one card at any given time, and you're using kind of deduction as well as the different card abilities to try to knock other players out of the round and stay in the round the longest. And they're pretty quick rounds. You play in just a few minutes, and ultimately you play until one player has won a set amount of rounds. And Love Letter has become extremely popular, and there's many different versions of it and rethemings of it. And when I first heard of the Lovecraft Letter, I assumed it was just another one of those, that they just took the base thing and just, changed all the different cards to be Cthulhu, Lovecraftian themed cards. But in fact, Lovecraft Letter actually kind of puts some twists on the original Lovecraft formula in some interesting ways. And one of the ways that I find the most interesting is the decision to basically split any given round into two different types of wins that a player can achieve. So in normal Love Letter, you either win the round or you don't win the round, and you usually take a little heart token to show that you've won. However, in Lovecraft Letter, you either are going to win the round as a human or a sane win, or you're going to win, you're going to be the last one in the round, but you're going to have gone insane during that round. And those types of wins are treated differently by the game. So there's actually these really nice poker chips that are double-sided, and depending on which one of those win conditions you met, you're going to take it and flip it to that side. Now what's interesting is the game allows you, because it's very quick rounds, right? You're going to play a round, then you play another one. You can start to collect kind of these points in both of these categories. So I could have won a human sane win, and then the next round get an insanity win, and I now have kind of a chip and a point for each of those. And ultimately, to win the game, you either need to get 2 human wins or 3 insanity wins. And it's a very simple kind of layer on top of the core Love Letter formula, but I found that it adds some just very interesting nuance to kind of the normal flow of Love Letter. And so one reason for that is there's just more interest in kind of who the leader is at any given time. So in Love Letter, it's very obvious. Whoever has the most hearts at any given time is the leader. And naturally, everybody that has any ability to be able to try to knock somebody out of the round is usually going to go after that person. And that's still true here, but it gets a little different because, say, one player has 1 human win, but another player has 2 insanity wins. Both players are 1 win away from winning the entire game. However, they aren't necessarily equal odds of making that happen. And even more interesting, it can shift as the round goes on. So in most games where there's kind of the ability to attack the leader, it follows a very consistent formula. It's clear who the leader is going into a round in a game like Love Letter, and players are going to hurt that player until either they're not the leader anymore or they're knocked out of the round, and then kind of go from there, and maybe there'll be a new leader. What's interesting here is it starts out that way, that players might be attacking the player that is in the lead. However, there may become a point in the round where that player no longer can win the game, but is still in the round. So if I need 1 more human win to be able to win the whole game, because I already have 1, what determines if I'm going to have a human win or an insane win is if I've ever played an insane card. There's versions of the cards that are kind of the insanity cards. And if you ever play an insanity card, it's going to be an insanity win if you now win the game. And if you don't have any insanity cards, you would get a human win. So once I play an insane card, either because I was forced to, because those were my only choices, or because strategically I thought it made sense, I no longer can get that human win that's going to win me the game. So while I may have been the target up to that point by everybody, now I might not be the target. There may be somebody else that's now more of a threat than me because I no longer am eligible for the type of win that I need. And so you kind of get this changing of targets in terms of kind of the attack the leader but I get to still be in the round. I'm not knocked out yet, and I get to still play and be a part of it. And I think it's just interesting. I don't think I've seen a lot of games that have that kind of, at least with small rounds like this, that switching within a round without the person actually getting knocked out. And I found it just creates some fun situations, and you know, when you're the leader, you feel like you're being attacked, and you know, can I get through it? But then there can kind of be the shift, and you're kind of in this different role of maybe kind of holding back and trying to find a place to get in, which is it's just an interesting decision, and I like how it adds this kind of interesting layer on top of the love letter formula, but without overcomplicating it. There isn't a lot of extra rules or cards, and so it doesn't feel like it's this unnecessary complexity on top of the core design. Another thing that's cool about how the insanity mechanic is implemented is that it's very much a kind of high risk, high reward thing for a player to kind of go down that path. So once I play an insanity card, now every time my turn comes around, I have to, before I take my turn, reveal cards from the deck for every insanity card that I have played up to that point. And if any of those flipped cards are also an insane card, I'm immediately knocked out of the round. So by choosing to go the insane route, I now have this probability every time it comes back to me that I'm just going to get knocked out with completely outside of my control without even getting to take my turn. Which doesn't sound like, you would want to get in that situation. However, when you are insane because you've played an insanity card, it also means that any future insanity cards that you play, you get to play for the special, more powerful effect that's listed at the bottom. And these are some of the most fun effects in the game that range from just really powerful versions of some of the existing cards in the game, all the way to the Cthulhu card that if you are able to play that and already have 2 insane cards down, you immediately win the entire game. Not the round, the entire game, which just that being in the game adds this tension into the rounds, because if ever you see someone up to 2 insane cards, it's like, whoa, if they get Cthulhu, they could win the whole game, which also plays into kind of that interesting shifting of who's the target, who's the leader, because that player could have no chips. They could have never won a round. But if they have 2 insanity cards out, they might be the biggest threat, because if we haven't seen Cthulhu come up, they could be in a position to just win the entire game outright. And so I love just the dynamic of that, and how when you do go the insane route, there's this little bit of thrill of like, am I gonna stay around long enough to get to play these like really powerful cards, or maybe I'll get Cthulhu. And for a game like this, where the rounds are, with an experienced group, you're talking a matter of a few minutes to get through a round. Those kinds of emotional highs and lows, and the tension and just the switching of kind of who's the target, it just makes for a very interesting and satisfying game of its weight. And so I have come to, this is my favorite version of Love Letter to play, and I've played a lot of Love Letter over the years, simply because it became a group favorite for kind of end of game night, just casual laugh, and have a good time kind of trash talking and playing this little deduction game. And Lovecraft Letter has been a great new twist on that's kind of kept it fresh for us. So I'd be interested to hear if you've played Lovecraft Letter, kind of what are your experiences with it? Did you enjoy the twist on it, or find other things about it interesting? But are there other games that you can think of that have kind of multiple paths to victory, but not just multiple paths, but multiple paths that kind of are, you can go after simultaneously? So there's a lot of games that, have different ways you can go, but typically you kind of commit to one. And by the time you're down that path, the chances you're going to be in a position to do the other win condition is unlikely. Whereas here, you can very viably have collected points kind of from both categories and be in a position to win either way. I'm interested to hear if there's other games you know of out there like that, or things that are similar that you've just found interesting in a design. If you want to drop that in the comments below, I think it would be great to hear other examples and kind of take the conversation past my examples in this video. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.